Hey everybody, we're back at it again, making a new piece for CJ5 here. What you're looking at is the CJ5 CJ6 rear bow pocket. A few guys asked me if I can make these for them. Apparently a lot of them are mangled up or missing. So I've set out to make an accurate reproduction of this. And I have this one apart already. There's another good reason where you could see why it's good to use weldable primer behind things, so you don't get all that rust. But here's the bracket, and I have the tube off it, and that's the shape we need to make. So a little tricky, but I'm going to show you a few things that I found out about this as I took it apart, and I'll show you the tooling I made and how I go about making one. Okay, I'm really zoomed into this, and I hope you can see it. If you look right here, you can see this is made up in two pieces. And I never really knew that was like that, but when I started taking this one off, I couldn't get the tube off. When the bracket came off easy, it was just welded and spot welded, but I couldn't get the tube off. And then I did a little cleaning up, and I realized it was made out of two pieces. And zoom out of here. Okay, when this was on the Jeep, it was welded on the top here, over there, and then it was welded down the side here a little bit, and right down the side here a little bit. And that's very common on every CJ5 and 6. That's how they put them on. So then I flipped it over. Once I had it off, I flipped it over and I went looking for spot welds because I figured they spot welded the tube in there or something. Hang in there, compressor's running. But here's the tube. You can see I had to take the whole back of the tube off, and I couldn't understand how they fastened it. But what they did when the tube was round and it was sitting in there like that, they took the outer skin piece here and they put the piece on there, and then they brazed it. Maybe they sent it through a furnace or something and they brazed that. So once the tube was brazed to that outer piece, then they took that secondary piece, put it on there, and then they welded the whole thing to the Jeep. I did not know that they were brazed. I couldn't get it apart, so as you can see, I cut it. So that was a little bit of a learning experience. I never knew they were made with two pieces. You know, I've taken hundreds of Jeeps apart and never really looked at how they built these bow pockets. But I'm building them now, and I am not going to put the two-piece system in there and braze it. It just seems like a lot of work and stuff, and a lot of extra tooling to make two pieces. So the combined thickness of these two works out to be 104 thousandths, and it's exactly 12 gauge. So I've got some 12 gauge cold rolled steel that we're going to make that out of. The tube is a weird size. It's not a commercially available size. 1 3/16 OD, and the ID was 1 inch and 58 thousandths. That way you can get a 1 inch tube in there with a little bit of paint on it. So I was able to secure some 1 3/16 tube. It was not the right wall thickness, so we're going to drill and ream it so it winds up being the proper ID OD. And then I'll show you, I made a little tool for crimping these things in. This was done very crudely from the factory, and that's so that the bow wouldn't fall through. And I made some tooling to do that, and just do that by hand. But it was a long process getting here and getting the tooling right, and getting everything done. So I'm going to cut a piece of 12 gauge now. We're going to head over to the Pull Max and we're going to try out those dies I made, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, there's the dies. This lower die, that was fairly straightforward to make. I was able to put a piece of 4140, and that's what those dies are made out of, some 4140 I had, and I was able to put a piece in the mill and go off after that with different size ball end mills. So that one was pretty straightforward. The top one was a little more tricky, and I cut that one out on a bandsaw, and see if I can get you over here. On my Ellis bandsaw here. Get this out of here. I think you can see that that goes in a vertical position, and I very rarely use it in the vertical position, but every now and again it's pretty nice to use it like that. I put a brand new blade on it, and I just took that piece and followed the scribe line and got it as close as I can, and then blended it in. So pretty nice feature of this saw. You don't use it often, but it sure is handy when you need it to have a horizontal saw that works vertically too. So that's how I got the tooling made. And you can see I got a generous lead in here and stuff, and we're putting a lot of shape into that thing, so we're going to do it in a few steps. But let me show you the paper patterns I started with, and you can get an idea of material clearances and things like that when you're making some specific Pullmax tooling. Okay, here's what the upper tool looks like. I just made a cardboard template. And that's what the lower tool looks like. And because we're using 12 gauge, and we need to build in some clearances and stuff. So let's see if I can get you a shot of this. I made each piece fit perfectly on. I hope you can see that alright. I can't see what you're seeing in the camera. I made each piece fit perfectly with the 12 gauge in between. So when I took the cardboard off and I transferred it to the steel, I had built-in clearance there. You see that up in this area it gets kind of tight and stuff. And if we don't have the clearance in there, we'll just wind up shearing the material. So hope you can see that alright. On this particular thing, we built in exactly 104 thousandths clearance all the way around the dies, and that's kind of critical on a part like this because there's a lot going on to make that part, and it's a heavy piece being 12 gauge. So I'm going to cut out a piece of 12 gauge now, and we'll run it through there and see what we come up with. Okay guys, I'll try and show you this going through the Pullmax. We'll do it in 3 different height settings. Like I say, it's 12 gauge. It's a little thick, but the machine will handle it no problem. So we'll set it, run a pass, then another pass, and finally a third finishing pass. And when I design these dies, I design them so I could put the fence right up against them, and it would give me the proper size. So something to think about when you're designing your tooling. But let me turn the machine on, and I'll try and stay out of the way so you can see what's happening. Okay, so there's our shape. And I made that a little bit longer than it needs to be, just so I could hold it in the Pullmax. And we'll go over and we'll compare that to the original. Okay, there it is compared to the original. And we've got a perfect fit there. And I'm going to trim that now to the right size. And then we'll head over to the lathe and I'll show you how I take care of getting the proper size tubing for it. Okay, there's our two pieces. They are 4 inches long. I gave them a quick sanding, rounded the corners on the disc sander just like the original, and now I am ready to work on the tube, and that's also exactly 4 inches long. And we'll cut a couple pieces a little bit longer than we need them so we could cut them off perfect in the lathe. We will drill them, we'll ream them, and then we'll put the little upset in the bottom, and I'll show you that process as it happens. Okay, there's our 1 3/16 OD tubing, and as you can see, the wall thickness is way too thick. We'd never get our 1-inch bow through there. So that is a 156 wall, and what we need to do is reduce that down, and I'm going to do that over at the lathe with a drill, and we're finally going to ream it with a 1 16th inch reamer to give us 1 inch 062. And like I say, the original was one of them was 1/058 and one of them was 060. So the 1 16th will be perfect. You'll be able to get your bow in there with paint on it, and you won't have to hammer it in there, and you won't make a mess of things. It'll slide right in there, and the fit will be perfect. Okay guys, I got our tube chucked up in the lathe. I have a 1 3/64 inch taper drill bit in there. I just wanted to get real close to the 1 16th reamer size, and I was able to get close. 3/64 is 0.46, so you can see we don't have too much to go to get to 0.62. So I've got some cutting oil on the drill, and so it's probably going to smoke a little bit, but we're going to send this guy all the way through and then ream it to size. So let's get busy with that. Okay guys, we're going to make that hole size perfect and give a perfect finish inside with the reamer. 1 16th reamer. We've got some oil on that too, so it might smoke a little bit. But we're going to head through with the reamer now and perfectly size that hole. Okay, here's our finished tubes, and they finished out right at 1 inch 062. There's our original, exact same 1 3/16 OD. Now we got to work on making these two little upsets down here. And what I did was make a tool. I think you can see that. We took a piece of solid stock and milled some slots in it, and then we'll just bang that down right in there like that. So we'll take our piece, we'll stick it on there. Where are we? Okay, we'll hold it right there, and then we'll just indent each side there. Nothing exciting, we just need to get that material upset a little bit so that the bow won't fall through. So I'll get that taken care of, then we'll come back, we'll get these welded on, and we'll have these finished up. Okay, there's our finished upset. It looks just like the original, and that's going to hold the bow from falling down. I think you can see that okay. We just hit that right down into the pocket and made it exactly like the original. Okay guys, got 3 solid TIG welds in there. And here's our piece of body. Yeah, I can't see what I'm doing. I don't have a camera guy today. I'm trying to do everything myself again. Let me see if I can get you focused in here. There it is, sitting on the body. And I think you can see how nice it fits. So we've got our piece, we've got our proper indents in the bottom. This fits the body perfectly. The shape fits the tube perfectly, as you can see. And that's how you go about making the rear bow pockets. And it's a very accurate reproduction when that is put on a vehicle primed and painted. You'd never know it's not the original. And like I say, there's a few guys that wanted these. I do have them for sale now, but I do make them to order. And I'm backed up with just a few. I've got to get probably about 6 sets out right now. If anybody has been waiting on these and I forgot to contact you and let you know they're available, hopefully you're watching this, just remind me that you needed a set, and I will get them fabricated for you and shipped out in the mail or UPS or something like that. But they are available, and if you're missing them on your CJ5 or CJ6, that's what they're going to look like when they arrive. So, as always, I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. I'm not sure exactly what we'll be into, but I have a whole bunch of axles to rebuild right now. I got a rush job that is CJ2A axles. I'm going to put a Lock-Right locker in there, go through the complete axles, put 11-inch brake kit on there, the whole 9 yards. I covered some of that on that CJ3A restoration, if anybody's been following me. If you're new to the channel and you want to see that, I can show you how I put the locker in and the 11-inch brake kit again. Just shoot me a comment, let me know. And like I say, if there's ever anything that you want to see, just send me a comment. I'll see what I can do to get it out there. So, as always, thanks for being a supporter of the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.